Good morning. The topic for today is mandibular fractures, which is a continuation of the previous class about the maxillofacial injuries. So, mandibular fracture is a part of a maxillofacial injury. So, in this class, we are going to see the etiology for mandibular fracture. We are going to see the classification. We are going to see about the clinical features, then how to diagnose a mandibular fracture, and then what are the treatment modalities available for treating a mandibular fracture. So, this is the list of learning outcomes. So mandibular fracture is more frequent than any other fracture of facial skeleton. So it is more commonly seen in dental practice. So this patient will have a fall and then he can always come back to you saying that he cannot bite his teeth properly. And then on examination you can come to know that there is a fracture. It is a misfortune to cause a complication of tooth extraction. Sometimes if an overuse of force is being used, that can cause fracture of the mandible. It is broadly divided into two main groups: fracture without significant loss of hard or soft tissues, fractures with significant loss of hard or soft tissues. So the etiology being road traffic accident, which amounts to 35 to 60%, interpersonal violence, falls, sports injury, and industrial trauma. Based on the classification, it has got simple, compound, comminuted, pathological, which is common for any type of fracture in the body. Based on the site of fracture, it is divided into A. Delta alveolar, B. condyle, C. ramus, D. ramus, E. angle, F. body, G. parasymphysis, and H. symphysis. The causes, it can be due to direct violence or indirect violence, which is called a countercurve fracture. It can be unilateral, bilateral, multiple, or comminuted. A fracture at the angle can be more favorable or unfavorable depending upon the muscle pull. If the muscle can pull upwards and it is blocked by the proximal segment, then it becomes favorable. So both the bone ends, fracture ends are in line with each other. Whereas when due to muscle pull, if the segment is not being prevented and if there is overriding of the bony fracture ends, then it becomes unfavorable. So there is another term called vertically favorable, which is due to the pull of the mylohyoid muscle. Again, if it stays in place, it becomes favorable. If it goes away from its position, it becomes unfavorable. Again, fracture of symphysis. You can see an unfavorable fracture. You can see a bilateral fracture, parasymphysis, due to the pull of genioid muscles. It is displaced. So the fracture of mandible, the supraoid muscles which are attached to that of the lower border of the mandible pulls the bilateral body and then displacing the fracture away from it. Inferior dental nerve frequently damaged in the body and angle. Direct injury to ramus can cause facial nerve paralysis or facial nerve injury. Condylar fracture with the temporal bone fracture can rarely cause facial nerve damage. The blood vessels that are injured in the fracture mandibular hemorrhage from the inferior dental vessels, which usually stops when you reduce the fracture. Direct injury to the lower border of the mandible anterior to angle can injure facial vessels as it ascends up. to the face in that region. Injury to TMJ can cause hemarthrosis. Injury to TMJ can cause external erythematous bleeding due to tear of the underlying skin. There are three stages in clinical examination. So it's going to be immediate assessment and treatment if there is threat to life, general clinical examination, local examination of the mandibular fracture. Examination is going to be extraoral, intraoral. Extraoral, you look for inspection where you see for swelling at fracture site, bony deformity in the contour of the mandible. On palpation, you check for the movement of TMJ, lower border of the mandible, sensation for lower lip. Lower border of mandible, if there is a fracture, will show a step deformity. Intraoral examination. On inspection, there will be buccal and lingual sulci of ecchymosis, which is called the Coleman sign, which is due to submucosal extravasation of blood. The most important clinical sign will be occlusal derangement. If the patient complains of occlusal derangement, there is high possibility that there is fracture of either maxilla or mandible. Palpation can be bimanual. Surgical ecchymosis is a picture that shows on the left side. You can see a step deformity, rich discontinuation, and malocclusion on the picture on the right. So these are the list of fractures areas that is going to be there in the mandible, which is dentalia, condyle, coronoid, ramus, angle, body, symphysis, and parasymphysis. Dentoalveolar avulsion, subluxation of the teeth and with the fracture alveolus. Condylar fracture is the most common fracture of the mandible. It can be unilateral or bilateral, commonly displaced anteromedially due to the pull of lateral pterygoid muscle. Forces resulting in trauma to condyle. A moving object striking a static individual. A moving individual striking a static object, or in combination of both the forces, can cause the fracture of the condyle. If it is going to be unilateral, there will be swelling over the TMJ area, hemorrhage from the ear, ecchymosis over skin below the Mansard process. On palpation, there is tenderness over the condylar head. Movement of condylar head near auditory meatus, height of the ramus reduced, ipsilateral molar teeth gagging, deviation on same side during opening. Parade ground or Gottsman fracture, bilateral condyle and parasymphysis fracture, posterior gagging, and anterior open bite. When there is a bilateral fracture, there is going to be telescoping, which causes anterior bite, whereas the condylar head is mesially or anteromedially tilted both sides, so there is telescoping. If there is going to be an unilateral fracture, there is going to be distraction, there is going to be posterior open bite, then midline will be shifted to the contralateral side. Effusion or hemarthrosis are seen, there is going to be distraction, posterior open bite, midline to the contralateral side. These are the list of radiographic examination that are done. We've got a OPG, orthopontogram, which is commonly done for a fracture mandible, posterior anterior view, which is a conventional radiograph, reverse Townes view, transcranial, and CT scan. The OPG clearly shows the condyle which is fractured and displaced. In this, the CT scan shows a bilateral condylar fracture. For a condylar fracture, there are different school of thought for treatment protocol. Either it is to be conservative and functional or surgical. So this is more important for you to understand the indication. So indications for open reduction and condylar fracture in adult. The absolute indication will be bilateral condylar fracture with craniofacial dysfunction, displacement of condyle into the middle cranial fossa or auditory canal, anterior dislocation with restrictive mandibular movement, or the absolute indications for condylar open reduction. That is, relative indications are subcondylar fracture with overriding of fractures and anterior open bite, anterior and medial displacement of condylar fragment, delayed treatment in the malleolated fracture, uni or bilateral fracture with loss of posterior teeth, and position of condylar fracture interfering with function. Adequately restored function of the jaw after fracture of the condyle consists of 5 determinable fractures, pain-free mouth opening with interstitial distance of more than 40 mm, good movement of jaw in all exclusion, pre-injury occlusion of the teeth, stable temporomandibular joint, good facial jaw symmetry. The surgical approaches are preauricular, submandibular, retromandibular. Incisions are brain, but the common one that is practiced is Alkes-Bramley preauricular incision, which is shown on the picture, or an intraoral if going to be some condylar. Other approaches: endoscopic, transmesenteric, anterior periodontal approach. Techniques of open reduction and internal fixation. You need to open the fractured site through the preauricular incision, produce the condylar fracture, and then either fix it with a mini plate or a wiring as it's shown on the right side. So a wire is placed to get the osteosynthesis, to get the production done, and full fixation with wire. K-wire has been used to fix the condylar segment and then stabilized with the additional tie wires. Lag screw has been used to reduce the fracture and leave it. Mini plate osteosynthesis is the commonly practiced one nowadays, which is monocortical plates, which helps to reduce and fix the condyle or any form of fracture in the mandible. This is a clinical picture. You can see there is a step deformity. There is occlusion only on one side, whereas there is open bite on the right side. A preauricular incision is being placed, the condyle is exposed, and mini plate fixation is done. Here you can see a subcondylar fracture. The condylar stump is fixed with a wire. Coronite fractures are very rare. Reflection, contraction, or temporary muscle awfully causes this fracture. This happens during the surgery on a large cyst or at the ramus. Ramus fracture is confined to the ramus and is not common. It can be single or comminuted. It is always associated with swelling both extra and intraorally, tenderness over the ramus, and there is always stress. You can see a fractured segment reduced in the angle of the mandible. So this is an extraoral approach to get the fracture reduced. The sign and symptoms are similar to angle for the body of the mandible. There will be occlusal derangement, which is a classical sign that is seen. There will be premature contact of the distal fragments. There will be intraoral hemorrhage. The signs and symptoms are similar to that of the angle. Occlusal derange, premature contact of the distal fragment, and intraoral hemorrhage because of the rupture of the inferior alveolar artery. This is a picture showing a fracture which has been reduced, and then fixation is done with a mini plate. Parasymphysis and symphysis fracture commonly associated with one or both condylar fracture, common in the canine region. Fracture line is always oblique, which allows overriding fragment. Detachment of genioglossus with loss of tongue control if it is going to be bilateral. Anesthesia of skin over mental region if mental nerve is involved. There's a picture showing a fracture line. You can see clearly a fracture line going in the symphysis region. Reduction has been done. Multiple and comminuted fracture results from direct violence associated with severe soft tissue injury. Combination of parasymphysis and symphysis allows lateral segments to collapse and prevent severe problems. These are the list of radiographs which can be taken. Left or right lateral oblique for body, proximal to canine, angle, radius and condylar region. Posterior view for body angle with displacement. Reverse tonsure if there is an undisplaced condylar fracture. Rotated posterior anterior symphysis and canine. IOPA teeth in the line of fracture. Occlusal tooth relation to the fracture. The desirable radiograph will be OPG and computer tomography. Coming to management of mandibular fracture, reduction, fixation and immobilization. Reduction, restoring of function, alignment of the bone fragment, functional rehabilitation, achieving the occlusion in the mandible, using occlusion as a guide to reduction. Knowledge of patient's pre-occlusion will give you a perfect reduction. Open reduction is the method which is used to directly access the fracture to get the reduction in place. The important thing to consider when there is a teeth and line of fracture, they are potentially impaired to the healing. All dental fractures are compound, so they are communicating with that of the oral cavity. Tooth may become non-vital. So pre-existing pathology, if they involve tooth, then involvement of impacted teeth. The absolute indication of removal will be longitudinal fracture involving the root, dislocation of subluxation of socket, presence of periapical infection, infected fracture line, pericarditis. Relative indications will be functionless teeth, advanced caries, advanced periodontal disease, teeth involved in untreated fracture of more than 3 days. Management of teeth retained in fracture could be splinting of tooth if mobile, endodontic therapy if pulp is exposed, immediate extraction if fracture gets infected, loss of vitality, endodontic treatment with 1 year follow-up will help in getting a success. This is how a tooth in line of fracture will look like. You can see there are fracture line that runs from the apex of the second molar to that of the lower border of the mandible. For immobilization, you need to know how a fracture leads. Fracture heals with intermediate callus or without intermediate callus formation. Compression osteosynthesis. This is more important to understand how much duration should be the period of immobilization. Young adult plus fracture of angle plus early treatment plus tooth removed from the fracture line, the ideal period of immobilization is 3 weeks. If the tooth is retained, add 1 more week. If it's fracture of symphysis, add 1 more week. If the age is 40 years and over, add 1 or 2 weeks. Children and adolescent, you subtract 1 week. The methods of immobilization are osteosynthesis without IMF, non-compression small plates, compression plates, mini plates, which is widely worldwide used nowadays, and lax screws. Intermaxillary fixation can be direct wiring, an eyelet, IV eyelet wiring, or with bonded brackets you can use for intermaxillary fixation, arch bars and cap splits. Transsocial wiring, circumferential wiring, external pin fixation, bone clamps, transfixation with Krishna's K wire. The picture showing osteosynthesis without intermaxillary fixation. These are the pictures of a mini plate where you got holes to hold the screw and then stabilize the fracture segment. Compression plates, no more in practice. You can see the 2 screws being inserted. This is what a mini plate. There are different shapes and designs in mini plate depending upon the area. Most commonly used as 4-hole mini plate. 2 holes on either side of the fracture segment is being used. Whereas the T plates, L plates, Y plates, X plates are being used in maxilla in different areas in the maxilla. This is a picture of a lag screw which is used to reduce the fracture. When the fracture is unfavorable, it helps to retain the fracture in position, drag and fix it. Indications for rigid osteosis is a fracture in the digital part of the mandible. Concomitant fracture of the body and condyle when early mobilization is indicated. Patients in whom IMF is contraindicated, fracture associated with closed head injuries, continuity defects, fracture in which non-union and malunion is. So these are the pictures of intramaxillary fixation. These demonstrations will be given for you to practice in the model. Arch bar, again a demonstration of arch bar will be given in your clinical session. Intermaxillary fixation with osteosynthesis. Transverse wiring is a direct wiring across the fracture line. Holes drilled on either side of the fracture line. Stainless steel wire is passed through the holes. This is a cap splint which is used for reduction of fracture in pediatrics where there is mixed condition. So a circumferential wiring which passes through the upper border of the proximal segment and then lower border in oblique fracture controls the distal fragment. So this is a picture of a circumferential wiring where the dentures are being used or a fabricated denture like the acrylic splint is being used to reduce and then immobilize the fracture segment. The choice depends on fracture pattern, skill of operator, resource available, medical condition of patient, presence of other injuries, degree of local contamination of soft tissue injury. Thank you.